Hi, I'm Chris Haigh, this is the Fiddle channel. Today I'm going to talk about two-note chords with the fiddle. Now, Darren Haynes asked me if I could explain how to easily find two-note chord shapes for the fiddle. This is something that guitarists do naturally when they see a chord chart. They see, let's say, a D chord and they know a shape with their fingers. This is something that most violinists or fiddle players won't know how to do. What I tend to say to people in workshops and whatnot is for each chord there are 7 or 8 different notes that are appropriate that you can choose to make up any one of 4 or 5 different two-note shapes. So for a C you can have that kind of thing, and that's not really very helpful because people don't want to spend months and months and months learning all those different alternatives. The first thing they want to do is to find the very easiest chord that they can think of. So first of all I will explain what is a chord because that's not immediately obvious to a lot of fiddle players. A chord is based around 3 notes: the root, in this case a C, the third, in this case an E, and G, which is the 5th. So that defines the C chord. Any of those notes can be used to make up our two-note chord. So any G, any E and any C is going to be useful. But that is too much of a choice. So what I'm going to show you is the simplest way of approaching this. And that is to find, preferably on the A or D strings, the root note. So if we're looking at C, second finger on the A string, that gives us a C. Now, as a general rule, you go to the string below, you use your next finger available to play the note next to that, in this case an E. So it's your first finger is touching the second finger and it's just in distance it's a semitone away. So that is your C chord. Let's say you were starting with an F note on the D string. Then the lower note, again, it'll be the lower finger, the next string down, and 1 position down. So again, it's just touching that note. So that's an F. If you wanted to do a D chord, third finger on the A string, you can probably predict what it's going to be. It's going to be your second finger, and that is going to be on the D string, and it's going to be touching the D. Like that. Sometimes the simplest way to find the note is going to be using your fourth finger. So for example, for an A, fourth finger on the A, and then you can put your third finger below it, and that's your A chord. But fourth finger roots are not very easy to play in tune, so you might decide that you want to do that A, and then second finger, next string down, touching, is there. So here's a little run through some of the more common chords: F, G, A, C, D, E. Now if you're using this method to get your major chord, then you can make that into the minor of that chord by moving your lower finger down 1 step. So your C major becomes a C minor by just moving that finger down half a step, like that. So that's C major, C minor. D major, second finger moves down to D minor. A major, second finger moves down, A minor. F major, F minor, and that's a useful little trick to know. But this will only work, as I say, if you've got the root at the top and the third at the bottom, and a lot of your inversions won't actually have that. Another useful trick is to learn how to go from the 1 chord to the 4 chord to the 5 chord, because ideally you're going to have as little movement as possible between your fingers. So if we start off with a C chord like this, that's your 1, you can use the same shape for the F chord and for the G chord, so that's quite a neat little movement. So let's do that again. C, F, G, C, F, G, C. Let's do another one like that in D. So there's your D. The next 2 chords are going to be the G and the A. That's the 4 and the 5. Here's another one, and this is the key of G, and to C and to D. Because we're not necessarily starting with the root at the top, as we did originally, it's not always going to be the same pattern of movement. And what I suggest is that if you find a song, a new song that you want to apply this to, then you just work out which are the patterns that you want, but think about those patterns in advance so that you know it's going to be kind of ergonomic, so it's going to be easy to move your fingers from one to the next. These 2-note chords are particularly useful when you're playing any kind of backing, whether it's these kind of chops or whether it is shuffles or kind of rock stuff. On my Patreon page I've got quite a few more exercises, and I've got a lot of these written out in different keys. So your major to minors and your 1s, 4s and 5s I've got in quite a few different keys. But it's really up to you to spend weeks, months or even years memorising these finger patterns, so that really you don't have to think about it at all. As soon as you think of a C major, your fingers will just land on a C major, and you'll be able to work out in your head straight away how to get from that to the next chord that you want. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching. You can have a copy of all these dots if you subscribe and send me an email. See you soon.